This is the hypnosis course, and more so the self-hypnosis course. What is hypnosis? This is not stage hypnosis. This isn't some guy swinging a pendulum in front of a crowd and making some guy pee his pants or something ridiculous like that. This is a true self-help technique that honestly has helped me overcome a lot of life's traumas. But what I will tell you is I've been able to self-hypnotize myself out of some very dark places that I didn't want to be in. Hypnosis can also be said to be auto-suggestion. We kind of brainwash ourselves into believing certain things. This might be a very esoteric, weird concept for most people, but where do your thoughts and beliefs come from? Why do you like whatever your favorite food is? Why is that your favorite food? That's not a conscious decision, right? It's your favorite food because these are unconscious parts of our mind and body that have led us to this decision. Most of what the human experience is unconscious, and this has been proven by science. 95% of our daily things, our daily habits, are unconscious. When you watch this course and you do the work, you are using your conscious, that 5%, to tap into the unconscious and sort of reprogram yourself. Think of yourself like a biocomputer, and the things you read, the exercises you do, whether it's going to the gym or learning a new skill like math, whatever it might be, you are using your awareness, your conscious processes to implant these unconscious things into you. With any skill that you've learned, look at the masters of any skill, whether it's a basketball player. He's not we've all done some sort of physical activity that we've mastered to a certain extent. Are you consciously thinking it, or does it become like this unconscious second process eventually? That's where we need to get to in our states of mind, in our way of being. We hypnotize ourselves and other people all the time, but we might not call it hypnosis. We might call it persuasion. We might sit down and think about something and persuade ourselves into believing. And if you think this is all hocus pocus BS, there are very extreme examples that are blaringly obvious that someone is in a self-delusional state, a state that they hypnotize themselves into, but it's obviously wrong. It's just a belief that they've ingrained to themselves, a self-belief. I, for a long time, believed that I was depressed, that I was not worth it, that I was never going to get out of it. And if you were to meet me today off camera, no one would, if you ask my friend group or my family, no one would say I'm that type of person. I am the complete opposite of a depressed person because I self-hypnotize myself into that state of mind. Having an emotional response to something is like being put in self-hypnosis, is like a trance state. Think of when a memory triggers a very strong emotion, like an ex, like someone passing away, and now you're thinking about them the whole day. Now it's changed your mood completely. What is that? That is you putting yourself, your body is putting your mind and your thoughts into a state of almost self-hypnosis. You're in a trance state now. But we can snap out of it. Whether we do it consciously or maybe we happen to bump into someone and they lighten our mood somehow, and now it's like we completely forgot almost about this bad negative mindset we were in. Those are self-hypnosis states. What we need to learn is how to activate them on our own so our mind isn't guiding us here back and forth, so we have better control of our lives. One method is to associate that memory, that emotion, with another one. Let's say you can't get over someone. Someone broke your heart, and every time you think about those memories, you get into this very depressed, sad, anxious state. How we self-hypnotize ourselves out of this is when we think of those memories. And this might not be easy for everyone. Sometimes our experiences with someone are extremely negative. but we must find a way to associate them with a positive experience. But there are good feelings associated with almost every memory. Find those and attach them to those thoughts, to those mind processes. And when you recall them now, instead of starting to feel depressed and anxious, you're going to feel joy, and it'll keep growing the more you train to associate those memories and experiences with positive emotions instead of negative ones. The stronger it'll become and the easier it'll get. A common life example of hypnotic states are in dating. When you meet someone and you're putting your best foot forward and you're saying all these sweet things to them and just trying to show them that you're a good guy or girl, what are you doing? You're essentially trying to hypnotize them into believing you are a good person, into believing your mind frame, right? You're essentially making them believe and get into your state of mind, into your frame of being. But just how you can do that to other people, you can do it to yourself. You can have that self love and convince yourself that you are a worthy person, that you are worthy of this or that. And it goes both ways. Sometimes we kind of self hypnotize ourselves into falling in love with someone, right? When we see them in hindsight after the breakup, we can realize how unconscious our thought process was when we ignored those red flags, when we saw things, but because we hypnotize ourselves into believing the best from people, it caused us to ignore reality, and we self-hypnotized us into this emotional false state of being. But was it false? Because we experienced it. It felt real in the moment, right? When you were in love with that person in the beginning, but now they're gone. Now reality is forcing you to accept it, and this is when change begins to happen. But the point of saying this is we can induce that state of being through sheer force of will. We don't have to wait around for other people to move us through life, to manipulate or just convince us of a certain way of thinking. You can do it to yourself. Just how you kind of made yourself fall in love with that person, you can make yourself fall in love with your work, with life, with whatever you choose. Use that same process. You remember when you've fallen in love, hopefully it's happened to you, and you can use that experience or use any experience where you've convinced yourself of something that you maybe in the back of your mind knew that it wasn't, but you held on to the hope and the belief that it was true. Point of saying that is, don't be dogmatic about your beliefs. Sometimes we can have beliefs that aren't necessarily good or bad, but if they're not serving a purpose, right? We could live in a society where the majority of people value family, value those values, but that individual could value their career and their progress in the economic system more. That doesn't make them a good or bad person necessarily. It just changes their belief, and that just shows you how just being in a different geographical location can completely change your belief system. But we don't have to move continents to get over an ex or to stop being depressed. These are all inner workings of the mind, and when you have a belief or a thought that you don't want anymore, that you want to change, you now know that it's possible to completely change who you are and what your thoughts are like, because sometimes society or family pressure just makes us, it gets us stuck in these certain roles that we play in. But we will now, through self-hypnosis, realize that it's all an act that everyone else is playing too. Everyone else has hypnotized themselves. What this course is trying to teach you is that you are now aware that you're hypnotized, that you are able to dehypnotize yourself out of the cultural norms or whatever thing you've gotten yourself hypnotized or stuck in, and you can reprogram your mind like a computer. A great way to see through our own delusions, through our own self-hypnosis, our own trance states that we put ourselves in, look at other people. because it's always easier to judge other people as a secondhand observer. It's why when a friend or a family member is in a situation where it's very obvious what they need to do, but because they're emotionally attached, that emotional attachment, or just maybe their belief, their mental belief system has hypnotized them into believing that they're stuck in a situation that might be incredibly easy to get out of. Study someone and look at their behavior patterns, their thought patterns, their speech patterns. You can probably get a good inclination of the type of person they are, right? We've all judged someone's personality. Usually people come to us for advice. Let's say someone comes to you and says that they don't know what to do about they think their husband is cheating on them and they're distraught. They're just really just very confused and indecisive of what they should do. People are feeling an emotion at that point. It's a hypnotic state. They're feeling the pain, the uncertainty. They're feeling the pain, the uncertainty, and it's a body sensation. They're stuck within the body, and that the body is producing thoughts into the mind. How we snap out of hypnotic states is we realize the state we're in. It can be a purely mental thought process, or it can be an emotion like we just spoke of. If someone is stuck in an emotional state where they miss someone, or their spouse may be cheating on them, so they're in anguish and pain, try visualizing the situation, try visualizing what's currently happening right now, try visualizing of the possibilities of the future, and really get a pictorial view inside of your mind. What is that doing? That is switching systems within your body. Instead of feeling what's going on, you're visualizing it with the mind's eye, and it's going to give you a different perspective, and that different perspective could possibly snap them out of that hypnotic state they've put themselves in. Sometimes our emotions and our physical body are at odds. If we've probably all heard the term sleep on it. How is going to bed changing things? That is what that is doing. Is it's not only giving you time to process the things, the emotions, or whatever you might be going through, but it's changing your physical state. If you're sleepy enough to go to bed, that means your body is tired. And a quick example of how this can change you is I used to be a very shy person, and now I'm very loud and obnoxious, if anyone who knows me. But it took a lot of work, and it still sometimes takes work to be this person. I'll chat up strangers. I'm super outgoing, which is not something I would have ever thought I'd be. But for me, there's some people who you've seen those naturals that they just talk to everyone. That's a person they've always been that way. So it's effortless for them in a sense. For me, it takes a lot of energy, and so that's a my body needs that energy. So if when I'm tired, you'll see me regress back into that quiet kind of not so shy now, but you'll see me more revert into my natural introverted self. That is just a different what is that? I'm kind of my body is hypnotizing me into being a different person in a sense, right? Just switching between the physical, the emotional, the mental, switch mind states, switch what part of your body and mind you're using, and it can very easily snap yourself out of these long held beliefs, these hypnosises you've put yourself under. The body and mind and spirit are all tied together. If you notice, some people, when they're depressed um, or aren't confident in themselves, they're slumped over, have this look on their face. Our emotions and our thoughts affect our body and vice versa. Objects have this effect on us as well, right? We can have, let's say we like to collect, I don't know, baseball cards. And every time we touch those cards and are around them, we get it's a smile on our face, it lightens up our day. What is that? It's just, to other people, it wouldn't do that. They're just little pieces of cardboard, but it's the emotional attachment and the lie that we've put onto those cards. It's the belief system we've put onto those cards, right? Other people do this to us as well. When people try to lie and manipulate to us, they hypnotize us into their way of thinking. But just how other people can do it to us, and how we sometimes do it to ourselves by imbuing our beliefs into an object, like our baseball card collection, we can use any random object and input into it an emotional state. We can say every time I see this, imagine I have a pencil in my hand. Every time I see this pencil, I get less anxious. And every time I do this with the pencil, roll it back and forth, it makes me less and less anxious. And the more we practice, the more we force our will and our belief into this thing, into this pencil that we believe is reducing our anxiety. And this takes time and practice. This is a learned skill that when I first started doing this, I believed, what am I doing? This is ridiculous. This is some hocus pocus BS that only hippies believe in, right? But the more I did it, the more I practiced, what I realized is it doesn't matter if it's the pencil or other people. At the end of the day, the factor that's constant and the one that matters the most is yourself and your own mind. And eventually, I've gone to the point where I don't need to. I used to carry around certain like necklaces and certain objects like that, or have certain, you know, mental or techniques. Sometimes there was a thing where I would rub this part of my hand to make myself less anxious. I don't have to do those things anymore because I've gone to thankfully, a very good place where I can kind of will myself out of these very toxic states. But even then, I'm still human. Sometimes I still get caught up in manipulations, in things that I shouldn't, but just because, we're still human and we're always going to be susceptible to life's changes. That's the only constant in life, that it's going to change. One of the best tools for hypnosis is just repetition. Imagine like it's life or death for you, because sometimes it is, to get over that person, to stop being depressed. Through repetition, keep facing those thoughts and telling yourself, no, I'm better than this. No, I don't need that person. No, I don't need this or that. Repeat it again and again and again. Practice really does make perfect with the mind. The mind is just like it's just like a muscle. And the more you work it, the more reps you do, the stronger it's going to get. And the easier it's going to be to hypnotize yourself. Because a big part of doing the self hypnosis thing is realizing, hopefully you've learned it throughout the course, is that we hypnotize ourselves all the time, whether we know it or not. And just knowing that fact, that we unconsciously hypnotize ourselves and that other people hypnotize us as well, that just knowing that fact makes it a lot easier to judge your actions, your thoughts, and reprogram them, to rehypnotize yourself into whatever person, state of being, or action you want to take. What this is really doing is causing you to have more freedom, more control of yourself. You're going to be able to do things willfully, right? Because like I said, we hypnotize ourselves all the time when we tell ourselves, no, I'm too tired to do that. But in reality, you're just being lazy. But it's the lie, it's the hypnotization that we put on ourselves. What self hypnotizing is training you to do is not only seeing a different perspective, but to destroy those unconscious patterns and replace them with a more conscious will, which is your will, right? You're trying to get to a point where all the things you want to do willfully, your conscious, aware thoughts, happen without any resistance. Because that's a lot of, think about what you might want right now, what you're trying to hypnotize yourself out of. It's, why didn't this person love me? Why can't I be more confident, etc.? It's just a state of mind that you've got yourself stuck in, and you're just trying to will yourself out of it. That's all self hypnosis essentially boils down to. You are strengthening your will, you are speeding up the process. Instead of procrastinating, you do things in the here and now. You are essentially making your thoughts conform with your feelings. So instead of letting your unconscious parts of you guide you around and make you procrastinate, make you feel like you're worthless, etc., you strengthen the mind and it allows you to do things without hesitation.